This is a Transportation TV News update. I'm Tony Dorsey reporting. $80 million for high-speed and intercity passenger rail projects was released this week by U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood, who made the announcement Thursday in Orlando, Florida. Reacting to the news, AASHTO Executive Director John Horsley said, State Departments of Transportation are encouraged by this initial release of recovery funds for high-speed and intercity passenger rail projects. A total of 31 states and the District of Columbia will share a portion of $8 billion in funds set aside for passenger rail projects by the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. Of the $80 million released Thursday, Florida DOT received $66.6 million, which will be used for program management and preliminary engineering on the planned 168-mile-per-hour high-speed rail service between Tampa and Orlando. State DOTs in California, Wisconsin, New York, and New Mexico shared the remaining funds. Learn more about the program at AASHTO's website, www.highspeed-rail.org. It's called rolling stock, the passenger rail cars and high-tech locomotives that are already moving thousands of Japanese citizens from one part of that country to another at speeds in excess of 200 miles an hour. What will America's high-speed rail rolling stock look like? Where will it be constructed? And how many Americans will be put to work in the industry? These final outcomes may be years away, but this congressionally mandated committee, which is made up of members from state DOTs, Amtrak, and the Federal Railroad Administration, are already hard at work on the answers. Known as the 305 Committee, this group of industry experts will develop specifications for locomotives that will reach speeds up to 125 miles an hour and set the standards for single and bi-level passenger rail cars. This week, FRA Administrator Joe Szabo and Deputy U.S. DOT Secretary John Percari attended the 305 committee meeting held at the AASHTO headquarters. Secretary Percari said he wanted to emphasize the importance of creating a domestic manufacturing base and effective standards.
If you think about our subways and light rail transit systems in particular, you have different rolling stock on every property. It's not standardized. The parts aren't standardized, so you pay more to buy it, you pay more to maintain it, you pay more for the midlife rehabilitation. That's crazy. If you truly want a national network of high-speed rail, we need standardized equipment, and that's really what this 305 committee is doing. We're also being very explicit that we expect this to be a substantial addition to the American manufacturing base.
Supported by AASHTO staff, the 305 committee has been meeting regularly since January to develop the first set of specifications for the next generation of rolling stock. Transportation TV cameras were on the move the week of May 17th, attending the AASHTO Spring Meeting in Natchez, Mississippi. On Thursday, May 20th, AASHTO President Larry L. Butch Brown, Executive Director of the Mississippi DOT, convened a news conference at the Port of Natchez to raise awareness of something he calls transeconomy, the inseparable connection between America's economy and transportation.
The cost of freight is what drives the cost of increases in goods delivered. If we can lessen the amount of freight costs by using the most efficient method of transportation, that is water, moving it as far as we can by water before making the intermodal connection, then certainly it means that we've got to have more investment in that infrastructure along the waterways and the ports of America.
Brown said Mississippi's inland and Gulf Coast ports generated $6.2 billion in business activities in 2009 and generated nearly 46,000 jobs and approximately $2 billion in wages. AASHTO Vice President Susan Martinovich, Director of the Nevada Department of Transportation, used her time at the podium to emphasize the need for a comprehensive highway and transit authorization bill.
We need to move forward because ultimately every dollar that's put into transportation, whether it's roads, whether it's transit, all infrastructure, you get over $1.50 back, and you get jobs, and you get something that benefits thousands of people in the end for a lot of years.
A fourth extension of current highway and transit spending authority must be approved by Congress if it fails to pass a new multi-year bill before the end of this calendar year. When Martinovich assumes the role of AASHTO president later this year, she says passage of a new multi-year authorization bill will be her top priority. In other news from the AASHTO spring meeting, it's no secret that many states are facing tough economic times as the nation continues to bounce back from recession. Many budget-strapped states are looking for new ways to generate revenues to pay for the operation of highway rest areas and to support construction and preservation projects. One idea being explored at the AASHTO spring meeting was to commercialize highway rest areas. Arizona Transportation Director John Halakowski says the idea is gaining popularity.
As states are facing increasing budget revenue issues, they need operational funds to run these rest areas. If you can't generate them out of traditional funding sources, then we need to look at other options such as commercialization. Over the last 2 fiscal years, ADOT's budget has been cut by $100 million. And so we face tough choices in our safety priorities, such as snow plowing and other maintenance issues with pavement.
Halakowski says temporarily closing 13 of his state's 18 rest areas this past winter generated $3 million in savings, which were then used for emergency snow plowing. Federal law currently allows 13 states to enter into agreements with the private sector to operate at rest areas, but adding additional states to the list will require congressional approval. Halakowski says at this point, states are simply exploring the idea. That's the Transportation TV News Update. We'll have more news from the AASHTO spring meeting next week. I'm Tony Dorsey reporting.